Hey, this is Randall WALLER, and you're watching Stix and Strings. I've been working for many years, as some of my friends will be rolling their eyes. Been working for many years on a record of my own, first one in a long time. And it's I have 8 songs pretty much done and another 4 half done. So and then it begs the question, why make a record? Because no one buys records anymore. Music's free. So I'm sort of in that weird limbo zone at the moment, working hard on that. It's been lots of chunks of time taken out. My wife had a hip replacement last year, which was bloody rude, and meant that I had to sort of shut the studio down for a little while and look after her and look after the kids, and which I do a lot of anyway. So that slowed things down. But look, yeah, it's coming along, and I'm really enjoying the process, and it's exciting to me. So I've got to get the monkey off my back. And, I'll be doing some wacky promo stuff and YouTubing and whatever, all of that stuff. So that's what I'm working on. And as a result, I'm not doing a lot of playing. An occasional bit of playing with my own band, and a little bit of playing with Harry Bruce, and a fun thing called Tank, which is with myself and Chris Camzellis and Pete Northcote, both completely intimidating guitar players, and lots of fun. I just stand there and learn all night. So that's really fun. But other than that, not a lot of playing, and just trying to get this thing done, this thing finished. Yeah. Well, I had my own band back in the 80s called Avion. We had a sort of middle level sort of band. We had a little bit of success here and there, but we were usually the opening band for other big bands, and that was with my brothers, 2 of my brothers, and a couple other fellas. That was some of the best fun times of my life, and I listen back to that now, and I think it probably deserved to do better than it did. But then I listen to it and think, yeah, I can kind of see why it didn't. Yeah, good moments. So from there, I did a short stint playing with Dragon. I did a tour with Sharon O'Neill, a great artist from New Zealand, and then went overseas and lived in London for quite a few years and worked there, most notably, I suppose, with Bonnie Tyler. I was crewing quite a lot of the time, but playing here and there as well. And that was just great doing, seeing the world and all that. I love that. Soviet Russia and all of that was great. Came back, and through the 90s played with John English and Billy Thorpe in a mighty band with Billy Thorpe, with Paulie DeMarco on drums, Andy Cichon playing bass, who I ended up playing with in Shania's band, and Steve Edmonds and myself, and that was just quite a formidable band to play with, and really challenging. Loved that. Then got a lucky break and ended up going overseas because of Andy, largely. He threw my name into the mix, and they needed a guitar player and lead singer to do the tight duet harmony stuff with Shania, but they needed a lead guitar player as well. I ended up sending tapes and videos over, and I thought for sure, I've never won a Chook raffle, and I thought for sure guys like these would be everywhere in America, but turns out they found it hard to find someone. They found a lot of great singers who would sort of more have a strum along kind of guitar level. They found a lot of incredible guitar players, as you'd imagine, who had sort of more backing vocal type voices, you know, oohs and ahs and stuff. But my thing was always sort of lead guitar player, lead singer, and so that's why Andy persisted, and bless his heart, he put his neck on the line for me, and I'll always be grateful for that. And I got the call, and away we went. You know, was there we lived in Nashville for the first couple of years. We were itinerant, really, but then moved there properly in 2000. Though we'd been, you know, in and out of there for 2 years already, and bought a house there in 2000. We came back in 2005. In between the two tours with Shania, I played with Keith Urban, on and off for, for a bit over a year, I guess. Played with a guy called Rodney Crowell. He's just a great artist and a dear friend. He's a great guy. That's not to say Keith isn't. He's a knockabout lad, good fun. We also played with Shadazy, another multi-platinum selling country act over there. Great, 3 sisters and great girls, great friends still. So I've been, you know, lucky, and really had a great time. Then we did the second Shania tour, and then we came home because didn't really want the kids sort of growing up around the whole gun thing, and and Susie had also put her, my current wife, she had put her life on hold really, and just had babies while we lived overseas, and we did travel and all of that, but she wanted to have a go at doing what she wanted to do, and that's fair enough. So we came back here. So that's basically it. Since then, I've had a little bit of a stint, 7 years playing with Rose Tattoo, and not that there's been so much lately because one of the members is on a fairly extended hiatus, but I think they have a whole new band now or something. So anyway, that was fun, and loved doing that. That's about it. Much to my mother's disgust, I play guitar. Bless her heart. She wanted one of her 5 kids to play piano, and probably classical piano, I would guess. Well, but just piano would be a start. And none of us did. I took it the furthest. I went to, I guess, grade 4 or 5, I did. And it was challenging and enjoyable, and you learn to read and all that. That was good. But then started a friend in high school, in the first year of high school, showed me a few chords on the guitar and introduced me to Creedence Clearwater Revival, and that kind of pretty much trumped classical piano. So I dropped that after a couple of years, and kept on with the piano, and kept on with the guitar, and ended up sort of teaching when I left school, and blah blah blah. Yeah. So why this guitar, or this particular guitar? Why this? Don't tell anyone. This isn't a Fender. But might as well. It's the best ad for Fender. It's the one I used a lot of the time in the Shania's thing, and it's had all the metal, everything changed on it and whatever. But it's a $200 guitar. It's a beauty. Alder. I like alder, but you know what I like? What I would really like is mahogany. I'd love to have a mahogany body. I had a guitar with a mahogany body, and it was just an awesome sounding instrument. Amazing. Stolen, along with my 1974 Marshall Super Lead and cabinet and everything else from out of our van in King's Cross. So one day that was fun. You get that. So mahogany would be my choice for bodies, guitar bodies. Always rosewood and ebony, not so much. A bit hard and brittle. yeah. I love the EMGs. I've used EMGs since 1983, pretty much. I wouldn't say exclusively, but almost. And just, I don't know, maybe it's something to do with the way my ear has become accustomed to what they sound like or something. But even in the PRS, I've put EMGs in one of them as well, because it's just how I hear it. I don't know. I've got an 85 in the back of the PRS, and but the front one is it looks like a humbucker, but it's not. It's one of those paid for. You can get them in EMGs. It's way cool. It takes up a humbucker space, but it's a single, so you can kind of get a little, bit of a throaty Hendrix neck pickup sound. To me, I've never liked the sound of humbuckers in the neck. I always find them kind of too a bit woolly and muffled, and I don't know. Yeah, I can't make it sound very good like that. I know people can. Joel can. My mate Joel McDonald, who's amazing with it. I can't get it to do that. But he's a bit of a Les Paul king. So anyway, so that's this guy. It's been a very. I bought that in '93, I think. So it's been a while. Blackmore. Pretty much when I heard Richie Blackmore, Deep Purple was, when I heard Made in Japan, specifically Made in Japan, that was I don't know, that was the moment when I heard that. I would just pore over the photos on the cover and the sleeve and read about it and listen to it, just be immersed in it with headphones on, and just amazed by it, and I still am. It's to this day, it's still one of the greatest rock records ever. Always wish they had. I would love to have heard Blackmore with Zeppelin. So he was playing, amazing songs, but with Blackmore playing guitar. Is that? Are you allowed to say that as a guitar player? I think Page is amazing. He's, for writing, it's just like, good lord, he's just amazing. But I would love to have heard Blackmore on that stuff. I've actually been asked by a few of the parents at school, at school drop-offs or whatever, and they'll say, "Hey, look, my son's playing in a band," and they're actually, they were rubbish when they started, but they're actually really good now, and he really wants to go on with it and make a career out of it. What should he do? And it's tragic that I feel I have to say, you've got to get out of Australia. You can't have a career here. I don't think you can really. It's very hard to have a meaningful career in music, in rock pop music in Australia. You can do it. There are some who do it, but there's a handful. There's not many, and most of them are singers. They're not guitar players. They're Jessica Malboys or Guy Sebastian. Most of them are winners of TV show type things, and well deserved. Guy's an extraordinary singer. But as far as a career, if you follow the same path that lots of us kids followed as kids, playing guitar and wanting to be a rock guitar player in a rock band, it's like, God, yeah. I mean, rock music's just been completely ignored in Australia for a couple of decades now. There are people that love rock music and like myself, but all the bands I listen to, I don't listen to any Australian bands. Like Living End a little bit, but I like Chris Jones and Monster. But no, rock's gone in Australia. It's over. It's been ignored to the point where it's just atrophied into a necrotic kind of blot on the culture, where people, whenever you mention rock music, it happened last night. I was talking to a couple of people last night, and they say, "Oh, I don't really like rock music." It's like, well, that, So maybe, I don't know, what they are thinking is rock music. It's hard. Everyone's idea of what rock music is seems to be different. But all the bands I listen to are young American bands. Sometimes European. There's a whole new generation of young rock bands that are exciting to listen to and interesting and new and modern, and they don't smack of the old kind of classic rock thing, which is tired. So so with my stuff, I'm involving a lot of detuned stuff, a lot of high gain, but with a nod and a tip of the hat to classic rock as well. So, but hopefully it'll be seen as being something, some sort of progression in the right direction. And there's just nothing going on in rock music. Nothing in Australia. Nothing. If you walk down the local mall and you ask anyone, you just say, who's Australian mainstream rock star? Go. Who would you mention? AC/DC. Next. In excess, probably more power pop, but some would see them as rock stars. Yeah, totally. Can you find anyone that when you mention them, you're not talking about what they did in the 80s or the 70s? So, add one word to the description, not Australian mainstream rock star. Australian mainstream contemporary rock star. Who are? We were playing at the Prince's Trust show in Hyde Park in London, and there's 110,000 people there. We did it a couple of times, and there's about 20 acts on throughout the day, and Shania was at her peak on this particular occasion, and so we're waiting to go on. They were running a little behind schedule, not too bad, it was only 20 minutes, half hour behind schedule. So I'm sitting here, the PA is behind me facing that way, the crowd's out there, 100,000 people plus, and stage is over there, and I'm watching these people on the stage, some kind of dance act thing, and I've just got my guitar, I'm just sitting there playing and sort of, whatever, and practicing. And there's one of these great big scaffolding type stages, and straight ahead of me, which is at the back of the stage, is stairs. It's probably 4 meters high, this stage, and it goes really quiet. And there's none of the other band guys on my side of the stage. I'm the only person there, the only human being on that side of the stage. I look across to make sure the other guys from the band are over the other side. Sure enough, there they are, they're waiting. Yeah, okay, so it's all right, because I'm on this side anyway, so it's all cool. All right, so just, playing away. And I see a couple of guys walk up these stairs with, grey suits and black sunglasses on, and they step to the side. And I'm kind of go, who's this? What's going on? This is weird. Oh, it's Prince Charles. Oh, good lord. Oh, it's Chuck. He's come to say good day. I kind of laughed, Sure enough, walks straight up to me. I'm the only human being there. Walks straight up to me. Puts out his hand. We had been instructed before this event, earlier in the morning, I guess, that if you happen to see the Prince, you address him as Your Highness or Sir. And
I can't get with the Your Highness thing. So I stood up and I was just laughing because it was so surreal. Literally was laughing. And I said, very pleased to meet you, sir. It was so hilarious. And he says, tell me, does the, because it was a stinking hot day in London, it was like 24, you know, and he says, so tell me, does the humidity and the heat, does it mess with the intonation or the tuning of your instrument? And, you know, I made some kind of lame comment about, you know, as long as the wood is, you know, aged properly, dried out, and before they make it, if the guitar's made properly, it should be fine. I said, but look, you should get up and have a bit of a jam with us, mate. I said, mate, you should get up and have a bit of a jam with us, you know, and yeah, you can use this one, you know. He goes, yes, well, I do have my sonnies. Out of his top pocket, he's wearing a coat, you know, but out of his top pocket he pulls out his sunglasses and he goes like this, looks at me like this with a big smile. And I'm going, good Lord, I'm having a joke with the Prince. And he says, well, thank you so much for your contribution today. It is so appreciated, and I just have a great deal of admiration for all that you do. Thanks so much. I said, got up and I said, pleasure to meet you, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah. At which point it dawned on me that I'd call him mate. I said, hey mate, you should get up and have a jam with him. And I thought, I think that maybe it just kind of flew past quickly and he didn't notice. But I bet he hasn't been called mate that many times like that. Anyway, that was fun. One of the most exciting things in working with Shania is that I was able to work with Mutt Lange, who was up to that point, it was an absolute lifelong hero of mine, you know, in terms, because he produced Back in Black, you know, and who doesn't love Back in Black? So that was very, very exciting to me, and now, you know, we've been friends for 20 years now. So he's quite an extraordinary person, as you might imagine. When I first got over there, it's strange to me, still even now, that one of the things that they found was kind of a litmus test, if you like, for the guitar player they wanted, was just the start of Man, I Feel Like a Woman. That, you know, etc. So I get over there to New York, upstate New York, where their massive house is and the studio and all that. And I'm sitting down with Mutt, and he says, all right then, Randall, can you just play this, because he's South African but educated in UK, and he says, can you just play the start to Man, I Feel Like a Woman? And so I start with, if any guitar players will know, I'm going 1-5-1, right? You could tell it's played with fingers, not a pick. So, but I was playing 3 strings. And he says, actually, Randall, no, it's only the 2, only just the 1 and 5. I went, oh, okay. So, and I start playing it with thumb and first finger, like that. And he says straight away, he says, actually, Randall, can you play it with just with these 2 fingers, because it's a softer pad on your thumb. And so it might sound a little bit 5th heavy. So I went, oh, wow, that's good. Like that. I'm going, like that? He goes, yeah. Do you think, would that be okay? You'll be able to do that? Or will that mess up your singing? And I said, oh, no, it'll be fine. You know, just give me a little time with it. So I'm going. He said, so then they sound, he goes, and do that. So I work on that. So fast forward about 3 or 4 days, the band's all been flown in just so that I can rehearse with them, because I was the last person to join. And so we're rehearsing literally 12 to 14 hours a day. I was still jet lagged and I had a massive headache. This was the Saturday. We'd started on the Tuesday, and just had a massive headache, and I was just exhausted and had information overload. So I just wanted to give my brain a rest, you know. And so instead of, and we're all playing, you know, there's 9 of us in the band. Shania wasn't there, and so instead of going like this, it gave my brain a rest, just that tiny little bit to slip back into a thumb. And I thought, I just wanted to curl up and go to sleep, right? But our amps are all in isolation rooms, and Mutt's listening out the front with a pair of monitors, and it's sitting on a piano stool with his French books beside him, he's learning French, and he's just going like this. And so I'm just giving my brain a rest, and I'm playing like this, and I slip back in, and I'm surreptitiously watching him out of the corner of my eyes, like there's no way. And it's like, sure enough, this is what he does. He goes, looks at me. He goes, at which point I go, and he goes. He goes back to it. That's what he heard. He heard that it had gone a little bit fifth heavy. At which point I realised this guy is somewhere else. So, pretty amazing. So, one other Mutt story was that one afternoon, at the end of the night, we were playing Still the One, and there was a B-flat chord in it, and Hardy, keyboard player, amazing keyboard player, great friend. He we finished up, and Mutt says, Hardy, is that the same piano sound that you've been using all along? And he goes, yeah, it's just a simple little piano module. He goes, yeah, it's the same. There's not virtually any adjustment on it, really. He goes, okay. Can you try a different voicing? And he tried a couple of things. He goes, yeah, it just doesn't quite sound right. Interesting. Okay. All right. Yeah, and Hardy said, yeah, we'll have a look at it. And whatever. So next morning they go in, fire everything up, and the thing fritzes completely. It's gobbledygook on the screen, and they start playing. Nothing. Zero noise coming out of it. They go back through the manual, do the whole, reinitiation kind of thing. Start it, hold this button while you turn power on, etc. It reinitializes. Comes back and they go, oh, right, okay. Right. Mutt's not there that day. He comes back the next day. Straight away he goes, oh, that's much better, Hardy. What have you done? So he heard it going before anyone else did. Before the keyboard player heard it, because none of us heard it, no. But yeah, he's somewhere else. This idea that rock music has been marginalised and pushed to the side, ignored, therefore people don't, when they do hear it, they don't really understand and know what they're listening to, and therefore don't like it, really don't understand it, and don't buy it, don't go to the concerts, and so those bands stop coming here to Australia, and they certainly stop being created in Australia, that's for sure. Because there's nowhere to play, it's a cyclic thing. There's no support for it, there's no radio, certainly no radio airplay for it. The closest thing I've heard on Australian radio last year, on Triple M, believe it or not, I heard Hyderabad, Stone Sour, who I'm a big Corey Taylor fan, and that was I heard that on there maybe twice.
that's about it. You know, when Slash's band has a new record out, they're working on another one now. You know, you hear Miles occasionally on there, on the radio, maybe, but not much. There's not a lot of support. What it is about Australia that, and probably more, particularly Sydney, I don't think it's unfair to say, more Sydney than maybe Brisbane and Melbourne, certainly more than Melbourne. What is it that makes this city so hard on the arts, so hard? You know, they rabbit on, so every time there's an ARIA award saying, you know, the Australian music scene never been better. It's like, well, yeah, as long as you're, darling of the month or whatever, you've just won a TV show or something like that. But there's this middle ground, middling bands where you go out and play and you develop an audience and you develop your own craft and skill in terms of addressing a crowd and putting a show together and all of that stuff. That middle echelon of kind of where it's the school of rock, if you like, that's kind of gone. Looked at sort of why the amount of money spent on sport in Australia. There's about $300 million that the government spends on sport each year. That's not including the Olympic, the IOC, and our Olympic team, which was another, for the Rio Olympics, $244 million. So $61 million a year added to the 300. Because that 244 is obviously over 4 years, a 4-year campaign to send a team to the Olympics. So when the Olympics were starting, they were when they were planning the team and the spending, allotting money to this and that. There was talk about, should we support sports that Australia has been traditionally good at, like swimming, where we've always had quite a strong presence in the Olympic pool. Should we support that, or should we rather support particular athletes who have a really strong chance of medaling? So there was this, it was at least a public discourse about where should the money go? Should it go to this or to this or to this? Right? So put that in precept 1. Next, the Australian Arts Council, figures are kind of rubbery and they're hard to actually gain solid numbers. They're a little bit kind of protective of those numbers, but it's roughly about $150 million a year. I'm not sure how to frame this the best, but if you look at the usage of music, far and away the most popular music in Australia is pop rock. They lump them together into one category. Pop rock, it's basically 74.9% or something. That was 2015, they're the most recent numbers that I found. I'm sure you could find newer ones if you look to the right website. The next category down is country music with 7.6% or something like that. Basically a tenth of what that one is, the pop and rock. And then, down to classical music, it's like 1 or 2%, that sort of thing. So, however, of that $150 million the Arts Council is budgeted each year, who gets the lion's share of that money? You might think, in a democratic society, that since we're all paying our taxes, that it would go to the music that 75% of us listen to. However, $55 million goes to what I would call the largest cover bands in Australia, and they are the Sydney Symphony, Melbourne Symphony, Adelaide Symphony, West Australian Symphony Orchestras. They don't play really any original music, as far as I know. I might be wrong on that. I may well be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. But they pick up 55 mil. The next one down is opera, then theatre, and then ballet. And then by the time you get rid of those, that basically takes up 140 million, and then the rest is kind of a few grants for Indigenous music, which there should be a lot more grants for, and you know, just little piecemeal stuff here and there. If those orchestras were a car manufacturer and they couldn't stand on their own, what would the government think about that? Now, for some reason, we at 1.5% usage of classical music, they are picking up somehow a third of the money that is allocated to the Arts Council. Now, what I would argue for is, I would say it's okay. You should continue that, because it is good to have all of those things, that we need to encourage those things. I'm not suggesting that pop and rock music, there needs to be some conduit where that some of that money can be funneled to pop and rock. I'm not suggesting that at all. I never would, because pop and rock music are the only forms of music that can stand on their own in Australia. However, they can't stand on their own if it's constantly being regulated out of existence, where councils will always side with one complainant in an adjacent building, where fire noise restrictions make it impossible for venues to function with live music, with real live music. I'm talking about loud music. Radio is not, the Australian content isn't enforced, or they play it all through the night, or they play all the old stuff and none of the new stuff, and there's no support for new talent, new rock acts, whatever. Now there is a lot of support for new Australian acts, but there's no support for Australian rock acts. No. So I would just suggest that we need to have a really good hard look at regulation and real support, not just lip service, but real support for live music throughout Sydney particularly. And I know they're finding it hard in America as well. I've just had Joel, who I mentioned earlier, he came back from LA saying most guys are playing for tips, playing for free, He said it's real tough there too. So it seems to be a global trend where music is devalued and music is free basically, and it's doesn't seem to be valued like it used to be. I don't know. Like I said, when I started to listen to Deep Purple, I would just pore over the notes and find out, who did what and where they recorded and who produced it and all of that. And I just loved all that. I loved the detail of that. But man, not anymore. But it seems like you just pick up the MP3 and kids don't even think any further about it. It's strange. Yeah.